Jason Gorber is here in studio with us to talk a little bit more. You were telling us during the break, absolute shock when you heard this news.
Yeah, so Tuesday night he came out with an article talking about all the things he was going to be doing. A couple months back he had made the announcement that he was going to be taking a bit of a break, he said, because he was having hip trouble. He announced on Tuesday night, I guess it was, that hip trouble was actually a recurrence of his cancer, which had taken his jaw. So we knew that the news wasn't good, but he talked about all the things he was about to be doing, all the resuscitation of his television show, Kickstarter projects, all this kind of stuff. So this news today is absolutely shocking and really hits not only the entire film community, but me personally. I knew him indirectly through interactions with him. Goes back, I do Toronto International Film Festival every year, and he was an absolute fixture there. You would not have met a kinder, more gentle person when you actually interact with him. He was incredibly generous to young film critics. I actually wrote a thesis in the late 90s on film criticism, and I chose to use one of his articles in my thesis because as a published book, I have to get his permission. I sent him an email, I'm like, do you mind if I do this? He wrote back, he's like, send me whatever you write. I'm like, this is great. It's like a poster pull quote for the guy.
We're looking at a picture, that's unbelievable.
Yeah, so years later, he totally helped out. Years later, I ran into him again, that's him, I guess, in 2010. I would see him every year, and honestly, the biggest thing I'll miss is just being at a TIFF without him there. He was such a champion for film in this city and this country, an incredibly strong proponent of bringing the international community here. I'm just absolute shocked that he's gone, that his voice will be silent.
He was also such a smart man, prolific. He knew the industry so well. And what's interesting is he was a critic who helped to shape the industry that he criticized.
Yeah, very much. I mean, like he famously wrote the screenplay for Beyond the Valley of the Dolls as his one sort of major foray into filmmaking with the whole Russ Myers thing. Here's a guy that would absolutely champion the art film, but completely be comfortable in just genuine trashy smut. I mean, he literally did it all. And in terms of, especially for people my generation and younger, Roger Ebert is the film critic. We grew up, Pauline Kael and Andrew Sarris and all these people I would learn about much later. Roger Ebert was the guy on TV. Absolutely. And the big thing, especially for people now, if you're looking for something to do, my understanding the site is completely down, but there's an archive of thousands and thousands of his reviews. He was an incredible writer. Yes, he was a television personality. Yes, he could do the thumbs up and thumbs down as a part of sort of Romanesque thing with his partner. But the way he would write a review was absolutely tremendous. He brought the personal notion of what it was to respond to a film to the masses in a way that Pauline Kael started and I think, perfected. It would be absolute a loss.
Just quickly, what do you think he'll be remembered for, especially given what you do as a film critic?
I think he defined the modern state of film criticism, for better or for worse. I think that there's a lot of if you look at most television critics, I happen to be one occasionally, we don't get into sort of the nitty-gritty. Between that and his strong writing sense, he absolutely nailed it. I think that he is just somebody that has completely shaped generations of film writers, but also film goers. He's a guy who would champion the little person, but also be not afraid to call it. Very quickly, as I said, I agreed with him probably 40% of the time, but I learned something from 100% of the time. Even if I disagreed with him violently about a film and I thought, you idiot, what are you thinking about this? I absolutely saw in his writing or in his presentation what he actually saw about the film, and that helped engage it. For me, films are incredibly important, and frankly, we've lost an incredibly important voice about film.
Jason, thanks so much for your time and your passion about Roger Ebert. Really appreciate it.
Thanks so much, guys.